Hello, word nerds. What is up with you? Thank you for joining me. I am very excited to have you here. Welcome to my living room. I'm not in my living room. All right, let's just get to the words. First word for this episode is articulate. Articulate. This is the second form of the spelling of this word. I assume you listened to the last episode. If you didn't, shame, shame, shame on you. So this is articulate, which is a verb. The last one was articulate, which is an adjective. But we're done with adjectives. We're on the verbs. This is from 1551. We are going to start with the transitive verb definitions. Here we go. 1a. To give clear and effective utterance to. Put into words. As in, articulate one's grievances. 1b. To utter distinctly, as in, articulating each note in the musical phrase. 1c. To give definition to, as a shape or object, as in, shades of gray were chosen to articulate different spaces. And that is from Carol Vogel, that quote. 1d. Sorry about that. I was not articulating very well. Let me try that again. 1d. To give shape or expression to as a theme or concept, as in a drama that uses eerie props to articulate a sense of foreboding. 2a. To unite by or as if by means of a joint, and the word joint is also a synonym. 2b. To form or fit into a systemic whole, as in articulating a program for all school grades. Now we have the intransitive definitions. Number 1, to utter articulate sounds. And I think in that case you would pronounce articulate as articulate. To utter articulate sounds. Number 2, to become united or connected by or as if by a joint. I got to assume yes. Obviously, in that case, they mean united or connected by or as if by a joint like an elbow or a knee. When they are connected, this could also be for like puppet armatures. Because they have joints, they can be articulated. This is not, every time I've said joint in the last couple of episodes, this is not a different kind of joint. It is an elbow or a knee or a hip or a wrist, or a joint in a finger or a toe. How many more joints are there? Neck, back? That's enough. Articulative is an adjective, and articulator is a noun. I am an articulator. Now we are going to go to the word articulated. This is an adjective from 1899. In italics, it says, of a vehicle, and the definition is having a hinge or pivot connection, especially to allow negotiation of sharp turns, as in articulated lorry, Lorry, or articulated bus. You've probably seen these. In Chicago, we definitely have very long buses that need to have a joint in the middle where it is articulated, so it can go around turns much more easily. I would hate to be a bus driver. That would not be a fun job for me. Next, we have articulation. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1a. A joint or juncture between bones or cartilages in the skeleton of a vertebrate. 1b. A movable joint between rigid parts of an animal. 2a. The action or manner I lost my place. The action or manner of jointing or interrelating. 2b. The state of being jointed or interrelated. 3a. The act of giving utterance or expression. 3b. The act or manner of articulating sounds. 3c. An articulated utterance or sound, specifically the synonym consonant. Number 4, we have the 1b definition to the word occlusion, and that is the word that starts with an O. Now we have Articulatory. Articulatory. Yep, that is the correct emphasis is on the syllables. This is an adjective from 1818, of or relating to articulation. Now we have the word artifact. We recently had the word artifact with spelled A-R-T-E, but this is the one that is A-R-T-I. I think that one was just a variance of this one. And I said we would get to it soon, and I wasn't lying because here we go. This is a noun from 1821. 1A. Something created by humans, usually for a practical purpose, especially an object remaining from a particular period, as in caves containing prehistoric artifacts. I never really thought about the fact, and this goes back to another word that I can't remember at the moment. I never really thought about artifacts being something created by humans. But I guess now that I think about it, I've never really heard the word artifact in terms of something that was not humanly created. So yeah, there's that. 1B, something characteristic of or resulting from a particular human institution, period, trend, or individual, as in self-consciousness turns out to be an artifact of our education system. And that is from the Times Lit Sup. And if I remember correctly, that means the Times Literary Supplement, most likely. Let's see. Do I have anything to say about that? Self-consciousness turns out to be an artifact of our education system. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You don't want to be, I don't know, I think it's good not to be too self-conscious. I think having some level of confidence is good. I would say the more the better, but sometimes having too much confidence can get you in trouble. So, a good balance of self-consciousness and confidence is probably good. I'm trying to err on the side of confidence, which I've never been very good at. So this podcast is a test. All right, number 2, a product of artificial character, as in a scientific test, due usually to extraneous as human agency. So let's read that without the parts in parentheses. A product of artificial character due usually to extraneous agency. And you can fill in the parts with parentheses if you like. Artifactual is an adjective. Now we have the word artifice. Oh, wait, I have some etymology to read about artifact. This is from Latin arte, which means by skill, plus factum, which is a neutral of factus, which is from the verb facere, which means to do. And there's more at the word arm and do. And there's another part that I think I'm just going to... Oh, actually, yeah, I'm going to skip that part. So now we are moving on to the word artifice. This is a noun from circa 1604. 1A, clever or artful skill. Synonym is ingenuity, as in believing that characters had to be created from within rather than with artifice. And that is a quote from Garson Kanin, Garson, Apologies if I mispronounced your name, Garson or Garçon, but there's no accent, so it's probably not Garçon. All right, 1B, an ingenious device or expedient. 2A, an artful stratagem. Synonym is trick. 2B, false or insincere behavior, as in social artifice. And we have a couple more synonyms for all definitions. They are the words trick and art. And trick is especially appropriate because I am recording this the day before Halloween. Yes, I like to get a bunch of episodes under my belt. I'm about a week ahead. So, yeah, trick or art. Would be great if it said trick or treat, but it didn't. All right, now we have artificer or artificer. Both are appropriate. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1, a skilled or artistic worker or craftsman. Or we could say craftsperson. Apologies for that belch. I tried to keep it in, but it wouldn't let itself be held in. Number 2, one that makes or contrives. Synonym is deviser, deviser, as in had been the artificer of his own fortunes. And that again is from the Times Lit Sup. Now we have the word artificial. We are almost to the end of the episode, people. Don't worry. Artificial is an adjective from the 14th century. One, humanly contrived, often on a natural model. Synonym is man-made, as in an artificial limb or artificial diamonds. 2a. I'm going to backtrack. I learned a little trivia today. I think it was today. How old are most diamonds? And I think, if I heard it correctly, the answer is about 13.8 billion years, because they've been being created since the beginning, since the Earth was being created as well. So most diamonds are about 13.8 billion years old. 2a. Having existence in legal, economic, or political theory. 2b. Caused or produced by a human and especially social or political agency, as in an artificial price advantage. Also as in artificial barriers of discrimination, and that is from R.C. Weaver. Number 3 is obsolete. We have the synonyms artful and cunning. 4a. Lacking in natural or spontaneous quality, as in an artificial smile. Also as in an artificial excitement. When I was younger and somebody told me to smile for a picture, I absolutely had an artificial smile. I had no idea how to smile naturally. I think I've learned that skill, but it's a very common issue, especially with young people, not really knowing how to smile naturally. The trick that I've learned, in case you're curious, is to laugh. A smile when you're laughing comes out very naturally. Even if it's a fake laugh, your smile will look better than the fake smile that you put on. It is definitely a skill. I'm not saying I've got a great smile, but it's way better than the fake smile that I had in junior high. And if you see those pictures, it's bad. All right, we are going to move on to 4b. We have the synonyms imitation and sham, S-H-A-M, as in artificial flavor. Number 5, based on differential morphological characters not necessarily indicative of natural relationships, as in an artificial key for plant identification. Artificiality is a noun, artificially is an adverb, and artificialness is a noun. And we have one more for this episode. It is artificial horizon, 2 separate words. Both are spelled the normal way. This is a noun from 1920. A gyroscopic flight instrument designed to indicate aircraft altitude, it says attitude, with respect to the true horizon. I really, really think that should be the word altitude, but I genuinely would not be surprised if attitude is correct. Any of you airplane nerds, let me know. And I say nerds in a, what's the word I'm looking for? In the best way possible. That is not a derogatory term in my book. If attitude is correct or incorrect, please let me know. But in my brain, it should be altitude. Okay, that is the end of the words. And the word of the episode is going to be... What is it going to be? Let us pick the word artifact. I think when you look at artifacts, they say something about humans at that time, whatever time it was. I'm thinking of the first definition, something created by humans, usually for practical purposes, especially an object remaining from a particular period. It says something about humans at that time. It tells a story, whether it's like a bowl or, if you look at it now, our phones. It's a piece of history at that moment, and it tells a story about that. Could be that person, could be that group of people, could be humans in general, whatever it is. I just think that those are kind of interesting. And I'll see if I can find a good picture of an artifact. I don't know. I could find anything. That'll be posted on Instagram. All right. That is the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, you crazy word nerds. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to this episode of the dictionary. It is episode number 200 from, and this is, what is today? November 7th. Not when I'm recording this, though. All right, the first word is artificial insemination, 2 words spelled the normal ways. This is a noun from 1897. Introduction of semen into the uterus or oviduct by other than natural means. And I actually have a joke that I will tell you. I don't think it's any dirtier than what I just read. So there are 2 cows in a pasture, and one of them says, cow A says to cow B, yeah, so I was just artificially inseminated. The other one says, oh, really? That's pretty interesting. Cow A says, yeah, no bull. I'll just let you think about that one. All right, next we have artificial intelligence, 2 words. This is a noun from 1956. 1, a branch of computer science dealing with the simulation of intelligent behavior in computers. I didn't say my joke was good. I just said I had a joke. Did I say it was good? I hope not. All right, number 2, for artificial intelligence. The capability of a machine to imitate intelligent human behavior. Artificial intelligence is very interesting and I think good in some ways and maybe bad in some ways. I did really love the movie Her. So if you haven't seen that, you should go see it. And it really takes the idea of artificial intelligence. It's like a sort of utopian future. I guess you could argue whether it's utopian or dystopian, but it is in the future when technology is much surpassed where we are right now. Yeah, that's all I'm going to tell you. Next is artificial respiration. Somebody above me is making a lot of noise. This is a noun from 1817. The rhythmic forcing of air into and out of the lungs of a person whose breathing has stopped. I think they probably used to call this the iron lung, although artificial respiration, I think, is more general term than the iron lung. Weird Al has a great song about a person in an iron lung.
And when I see Mr. Frump in his iron lung.
Moving on to artillerist. artillerist. This is a noun from 1757. We have the synonyms gunner and artilleryman or artilleryman. Next we have artillery. This is a noun from, where did it go? The 15th century. Let's see. I'm looking at the pronunciation guide. We have artillery and we have artillery. So they sort of, one of the appropriate pronunciations has gotten rid of one of the syllables, it looks like. All right, number 1, weapons as bows, slings, and catapults for discharging missiles. And I love the fact, now that I've learned from the word arrow, that any of those things can be called missiles. So I'm going to try and start using that in my day-to-day language. Let's see. A trebuchet would be another a weapon that discharges missiles. 2, a large bore crew what is going on here? Okay. Large bore crew served mounted firearms as guns, howitzers, and rockets. And the synonym for that one is ordnance. 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 It's not ordinance, it's just ordnance. That's hard for me to say for some reason. All right, we have 2B, a branch of an army armed with artillery. 3, means of impressing, arguing, or persuading. Now we have artilleryman or artilleryman. This is a noun from 1635, a soldier in the artillery. And next we have artiodactyl. No, it is artiodactyl. Artiodactyl. This is a noun. I'm just looking at the etymology for artillery, which I am going to tell you now. Apologies that I keep on missing these and then going back. I'm sure that's terribly confusing to you. Let's see. This is from the Middle English artillerie with an IE at the end. And that is from Anglo-French artiller, which means to equip, arm. It's an alternative of the Old French atelier, something like that, which is from Latin opticulare, which is from also Latin optare, which means to don, prepare, or fit. And there's more at the word adapt. All right, I'm going to try and not skip etymology for these. I guess it would make sense for me if I read it on the front end, but that's not how I'm doing things. All right, here we go with artiodactyl. It's a noun from circa 1879. Any of an order of ungulates, I think it must be ungulates, as the camel or pig, with an even number of functional toes on each foot. Artiodactyl is also an adjective. So the word I was having trouble with is spelled ungulates, ungulates, ungulates. I don't know how to pronounce that word. And the etymology says this is from New Latin artiodactyla, which is from Greek artios, which means fitting or even numbered, plus dactylos, which means finger or toe, and that is akin to the Greek arariskein, which means to fit, and that Greek word gets used a lot. And there's more at the word arm. So, let's see, camel, pig with an even number of functional toes on each foot. So, I guess do they just have, 2 or 4 or 6? Do any of them have 6 toes? I don't know. So that is what artiodactyl means. So is there a word where they have an odd number of functional toes? What would that word be? We are going to move on to artisan. Let's see. This is chiefly British. It is a noun from 1538. 1. A worker who practices a trade or handicraft. Synonym is craftsperson. 2. One that produces something, as cheese or wine, in limited quantities, often using traditional methods. Artisanal is an adjective, and artisanship is a noun. And it did say it was chiefly British, although this has definitely gotten to the American lexicon. This is from Middle French, from Northern Italy, or Northern Italian dialect form of the Tuscan word artigiano, which is from arte, which means art, from the Latin art prefix or ars. Moving on to the word artist. This is a noun from circa 1507. 1a is obsolete, and it means one skilled or versed in learned arts. 1b is archaic. I've already asked my question, what's the difference between archaic and obsolete? I still don't have an answer. But 1b is archaic, and we have the synonym physician. 1c is also archaic, and we have the number 1 definition for artisan, which you can go back about 20 seconds to listen to. 2a, one who professes and practices an imaginative art. 2b, a person skilled in one of the fine arts. 3, a skilled performer. Especially, we have the synonym artiste, spelled artiste. 4, one who is adept at something, as in con artist or strikeout artist. And here we have that fancy word artiste. This is a noun from 1823. 1, a skilled adept public performer, specifically a musical or theatrical entertainer. 2, an artistic or creative person. Sorry about that. I just had to clear my throat. I guess I would like to consider myself an artist. I'm not particularly skilled in one art form or anything like that. I love all the arts. I want to do more in all the arts. But there are definitely people out there who I would say, yep, that is a true artist. I sort of imagine it as being somebody who has to do this art. They can't not do it. Their body, their brain, they just have to do it. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm mentally sort of there. Okay, we are going to move on to the word artistic. This is an adjective from circa 1753. 1. Of, relating to, or characteristic of art or artists, as in artistic subjects. Also as in an artistic success. 2. Showing imaginative skill in arrangement or execution, as in artistic photography. Artistically is an adverb. And now we have the word artistry. This is a noun from 1868. 1. Artistic quality of effect or workmanship, as in the artistry of his novel. 2. Artistic ability, as in the artistry of the violinist. Also as in a lawyer's artistry in persuading juries. Now we have the word artless, A-R-T-L-E-S-S. It sounds like heartless, but it is not. This is an adjective from 1589. 1. Lacking art, knowledge, or skill. Synonym is uncultured, as in an artless brute. 2a. Made without skill. Synonym is crude, as in an artless attempt to win votes. 2b. Free from artificiality. Synonym is natural, as in artless grace. Number 3. Free from guile or craft. Sincerely simple, as in an artless young woman. And then the synonym natural is mentioned again for all the definitions. Artlessly is an adverb, and artlessness is a noun. And the last word for this episode is art moderne. Moderne, or I think it's moderne, because it is spelled M-O-D-E-R-N-E. That is two separate words. Well, art is one word and moderne is the other word. This is a noun from 1931, and we just have the synonym art deco. And we talked about that recently. So that is all the words. I'm going to pick artist as the word of the episode, and I'll have to pick what to post for Instagram. Is it related to artist? Is it artiodactyl? Is it artificial respiration? Is it something else? But you shall find out on November 7th when this episode airs. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, this is Spencer reading you the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this. Thank you for joining me on this. I don't know what I'm talking about. So we're going to get to the words. This is the fourth episode that I am recording in a row. And as I've mentioned in the past, my voice often gets a little bit raw after I record these four. So hopefully it doesn't sound too terrible to you. The first word for this episode is Art Nouveau. Art is the first word. Second word is Nouveau. This is a noun from 1908. A design style of late 19th century origin characterized especially by sinuous lines and foliate forms. What are sinuous lines and foliate forms? I would need to look up examples. The etymology says that this is French, and it literally means new art. Well, it's over 100 years old, so it's not really new anymore. Now we have art rock. There is a hyphen between the two words. This is a noun from 1968. Rock music that incorporates elements of traditional or classical music. Art rocker is a noun. Next we have arts and crafts. Yes, that is three separate words. This is a noun from 1888. A movement in European and American design during the late 19th and early 20th centuries promoting let's try that again. And early 20th centuries promoting hand craftsmanship over industrial mass production. And every time I see the phrase arts and crafts, I, of course, think of the movie Wet Hot American Summer when the guy at the end says, arts and farts and crafts. We are going to move on to art song. This is 2 words. It is a noun from 1890. A usually through-composed song. Let's try that again. I paused because I wanted to say that through-composed has a hyphen. So it is a usually through-composed song for solo voice and accompaniment, and compare to folk song. Now we have the word artsy. This is an adjective from 1902, and we just have the synonym arty, A-R-T-Y. I always say that I come from an artsy family, because I do. Next we have artsy craftsy. This reminds me of argle bargle. There is a hyphen between artsy and craftsy. Let's see. It can also be arty crafty. This is an adjective from 1902, and again, we just have the synonym arty. And this is from the phrase arts and crafts. That's what the etymology tells me. Next, we have art theater. 2 words. This is a noun from 1923, a theater that specializes in the presentation of art films. Next, you mean like the Music Box Theater in Chicago? I remembered it this time. Next, we have artwork. This is all 1 word. This is a noun from 1877. 1A, an artistic production, as in an 8-foot metal artwork. 1B, artistic work, as in artwork being sold on the sidewalk. 2A, we have the number 6 definition for the word art. 2B, material as a drawing or photograph prepared for reproduction in printed matter. Now we have arty, which has been mentioned already in a couple of entries. This is the first form of arty. This is an adjective from 1901. Showily or pretentiously artistic, as in arty lighting and photography. Artily is an adverb, and artiness or artiness is a noun. Now we have the second form of arty. This is an abbreviation to the word artillery. Now we have arugula. We have gotten away from the arts. This is a noun from 1967. A yellowish flowered Mediterranean herb of the mustard family cultivated for its foliage, which is used especially in salads, called also garden rocket, roquette, R-O-Q-U-E-T-T-E, or rugola, R-U-G-O-L-A. I was aware that it was also called rocket. They use that term in Australia, New Zealand, maybe even Europe too, I'm not sure. But I was not aware of garden rocket, rugola, or roquette. What does the etymology say? It is probably from an Italian dialect, Italian to Italian dialect. It says it again. Arigola, which means arugula. Oh, it mentions Lombardy. Maybe that's a region, dialectic region in Italy. Also from Italian, ruca, R-U-C-A, and there's more at the word rocket. So somehow there are 2 Italian words, ruca and arigola, that both became the word arugula or rocket, depending on where you got it from. There is a scientific name of the yellowish flowered Mediterranean herb. It is Eruca vesicaria sativa. Now we have the word arum, arum, sure. This is a noun from the 14th century. Any of a genus of Eurasian plants having usually arrow-shaped leaves and a showy spathe partially enclosing a spadix or spadix, and broadly a plant of the arum family. We are going to move on to ARV, all caps. This is an abbreviation for American Revised Version. Now we have another abbreviation. It is ARVN, again, all caps, and this is Army of the Republic of Vietnam, and then in parentheses it says South Vietnam. Here we have a suffix. It is ARY. This is the first form of this suffix, and there's a lot of stuff in italics. What does it say? US, usually airy or airy, when an unstressed syllable precedes airy, when a stressed syllable precedes British, usually airy in all cases. Okay, that probably wasn't terribly interesting to read. Number 1, thing belonging to or connected with, especially place of, as in ovary. Number 2, person belonging to, connected with, or engaged in, as in functionary. And now we have the second form of the suffix airy. It does say this is an adjective, and it means of, relating to, or connected with, as in budgetary. Now we have the word Aryan, capital ARYAN. It is the first form of to. And this one is an adjective from 1839. Number 1, we have the synonym Indo-European. 2, of or relating to a hypothetical ethnic type illustrated by or descended from early speakers of Indo-European languages. 2b, we have the synonym Nordic. 2c, used in Nazism to designate a supposed master race of non-Jewish Caucasians, usually having Nordic features. That is the form that we have a problem with. Number 3, of or relating to Indo-Iranian or its speakers. To be perfectly honest, I don't know if any of the other definitions for this are derogatory or racist in any way. I hope they are not, but I do know that 2C is. So don't use it in that form, please, and thank you. This is from the Sanskrit Arya, A-R-Y-A, which means noble or belonging to an ancient people of northern India speaking an Indo-European dialect. And here we have the second form of Aryan. Is it Aryan? And it just says Aryan. It doesn't say Aryan. That's the word that I always heard when the Nazis were using it, but I'm not seeing in the pronunciation guide that it looks like Aryan. It just says Aryan, I think. Okay, we are going to move on to the second form of Aryan or Aryan. It is a noun from 1851. There is some repetition here. Number 1 has the synonym Indo-European. 2A has the synonym Nordic. And 2B has the synonym Gentile. We've got one more for this episode. It is the last one. I have saved the best for last. It is the word Aryl, or Aryl, A-R-Y-L. This is an adjective from 1906, and it means having or being a monovalent organic radical, as phenyl, derived from an aromatic hydrocarbon by the removal of one hydrogen atom, often used in combination. And obviously, I saved the best for last. But that is not going to be the word of the episode. What did I pick for the last one? I think I picked artist. Yes, I picked artist. So this one, we are going to pick... We're going to pick arugula. Because, for reasons. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer reading you the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this podcast that you somehow stumbled upon. It is called The Dictionary. This is not something I want to admit, but I have to tell you, this is the second time I'm going to be recording this episode and the next 2 episodes because the last time I recorded, the audio turned out to be very, very crappy. I think I had it turned up a bit too loud. So this is take number 2. You will probably never hear that other audio, and I'm okay with that. Okay, let us do this for the second time. First word is arytenoid. Nope, I think it's more like arytenoid. I should probably remember this from, was it yesterday that I recorded these? Arytenoid. No, sorry. Arytenoid. Oh, God, I'm just going to move on. It is spelled Arytenoid. It is an adjective from circa 1751. 1. Relating to or being either of 2 small laryngeal cartilages to which the vocal cords are attached. And I think last time I did this, I said something like, my vocal cords can make a sound like this, or they can make a sound like this. Okay, number 2, relating to or being either of a pair of small muscles or an unpaired muscle of the larynx. Arytenoid is also a noun. Let us look at the etymology. It is from Greek arytenoides, which is literally means ladle-shaped, and that is from arytena, which means ladle. Now, oh yes, I remember this. We have the first form of the word as, and yep, I'm just going to leave it at that because it's going to come back a lot. This is an adverb from before the 12th century. 1. To the same degree or amount, as in, as soft as silk, also as in, twice as long. Number 2, for instance, as in, various trees, as oak or pine. And there are going to be a lot of examples coming up. Number 3, when considered in a specified form or relation, usually used before a preposition or a participle, as in, my opinion as distinguished from his. The etymology says this is from Old English, ealswa, E-A-L-L-S-W-A, which means likewise or just as, and there is more at the word also. Now we have the second form of as. This is a conjunction from the 12th century. 1, we just have the synonym as if. Excuse me, that is staying in. And, of course, I have to give a shout-out to Mark Maron's podcast, WTF, the John Goodman episode, which I think aired on Halloween? No, maybe after Halloween. And at the very, very, very end, there is an outtake where he lets out a gigantic belch, and I loved it, and that was my homage to Mark Maron. You're welcome. So, back to the number 1 definition of the second form of the word as, which is a conjunction from the 12th century, and it means as if, or is a synonym is as if, as in, looks as he had seen a ghost, and that is a quote from S.T. Coleridge. Number 2, in or to the same degree in which, as in soft as silk, and that is usually used as a correlative after an adjective or adverb modified by adverbial as or so, as in as cool as a cucumber. And correlative, something like that, reminds me of Coraline. Number 2, in the way or manner that, as in do as I do. Only if it's good. If it's bad, don't do as I do. Number 4, in accordance with what or the way in which. That is a confusing definition. But here's an example. Quite good as boys go. Okay. Number 5, we have these synonyms while and when. And there's a part of me that wants to say them like the baby in Family Guy. While and when. As in, spilled the milk as she got up. Well, maybe if she didn't have the glass of milk on her head, then it wouldn't have fallen. Number 6, regardless of the degree to which. Synonym is though. As in, improbable as it seems, it's true. 7, for the reason that. Synonyms are because and since. As in, stayed home as she had no car. 8, that the result is. as in so clearly guilty as to leave no doubt. Then it says usage, see the word like. We have a phrase, as is, and that means in the presently existing condition without modification, as in bought the clock at an auction as is. And we have another phrase, it is as it were, and that means as if it were so, in a manner of speaking. And now we have the third form of the word as. This is a pronoun. Yeah, I think that's... I had trouble with that last time. I guess it's a pronoun. From the 12th century. 1, we have these synonyms that, who, and which. And that means... Oh, no, it says used after the words same or such. As in the example, in the same building as my brother. Also as in, tears such as angels weep. And that is a quote from John Milton. And it says, chiefly dialectic after a substantive not modified by the word same or such, as in that kind of fruit as maids call medlars. I don't know what medlars are, but that is a quote from Shakespeare. Number 2, a fact that. That's the entire definition. As in, is a foreigner, as is evident from his accent. Now we have the fourth form of the word as. This is a preposition from the 13th century. And I just wanted to look over and make sure that we are in fact still recording and the audio level is not too high, because that would be bad. All right, number 4. Fourth form of as. 1a, we have the to definition for the word like, as in all rose as one man. I don't know what that means. 1b, we have the 1a definition also for the word like, as in his face was as a mask. And that is from, quote, from Max Beerbohm, Beerbohm. And I think I made this same joke last time. That sounds like an Irish car bomb. Yeah, bartender, I'd like a Max Beerbohm, please. What is in a Max Beerbohm drink? Number 2, in the capacity, character, condition, or role of, as in works as an editor. I work as a video editor as my day job. And now we have the fifth form of the word as. This is a noun, and the plural form is asses or asses, A-S-S-E-S. And no, it is not what you think. This is a noun from 1540, 1a, a bronze coin of the ancient Roman Republic. 1b, a unit of value equivalent to an as coin. Number 2, we have the 2a definition for the word libra. All right, now we have as again, but the A is capitalized, and we have two forms. The first one is an abbreviation for the word altostratus, and I'm guessing that is a cloud, a type of cloud, but I don't know. And now we have the second form of as. It is a symbol for the word arsenic. Remember our good friend Arsenicol Hall? Yep. Here we have as again. Both letters are capitalized. This is an abbreviation for 1. After sight, 2. Airspeed, 3. American Samoa, 4. Anglo-Saxon, 5. Anti-submarine, and 6. Associate in science. Here we have a prefix, AS, and it says just to see, go see the prefix AD. Don't mind if I do. All right, where are we going to end this episode? Somewhere around there. All right, next we have asafoetida. Asafoetida, A-S-A-F-E-T-I-D-A. Could also be spelled A-S-A-F-O-E-T-I-D-A. This is a noun from the 14th century. The dried fetid gum resin of the root of several West Asian plants of the carrot family, used as a flavoring especially in Indian cooking and formerly used in medicine, especially as an antispasmodic, and in folk medicine as a general prophylactic against disease. It says, the etymology says it is from, Middle Latin asafoetida, which is from the Persian aza, A-Z-A, which means mastic, plus the Latin fetida, which is the feminine of fetidus, which means fetid. And there you go. Next, we have the word asana. This is a noun. It is spelled A-S-A-N-A. It is a noun from circa 1934. Any of various yogic postures. The etymology says this is Sanskrit, asana, which means manner of sitting, and that is from asti, A-S-T-E, which means he sits, and it is akin to the Greek hesthai, which means to sit, also the Hittite word or prefix es. And if I remember correctly, this may or may not be the word of the episode. Next, we have asante, capital A-S-A-N-T-E. This is a noun from 1721. We have the synonym ashanti. And I think this must have come up in a previous episode long time ago, because I do remember mentioning Ashanti, because I know someone named Ashanti, which I don't think is a terribly common name. But so in a little bit, we will get to the actual definition of Ashanti. I think we'll do two more. Next is ASAP, capital A-S-A-P. They're all caps. This is an abbreviation for as soon as possible. And finally, we have ASB. This is an abbreviation for asbestos. And yes, the word of the episode will be asana. I've really been wanting to get into yoga and do it. I think my body really needs that stretch I think it's just really helpful for everybody, but especially me. I'm not flexible. I just need some good yoga in my life. So maybe next time we talk, I'll be doing yoga, but probably not. And thank you very much for listening. Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary for the second time. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the Dictionary Podcast, hosted by me, Spencer. If you listened to the last episode, you are aware that I am recording this episode and the previous one and the next one for the second time because I think I recorded the last version too loud and it sounded like crap. So here we go with the first word. It is asbestos. A-S-B-E-S-T-O-S. This is a noun from 1607. Any of several minerals as chrysotile that readily separate into long, flexible fibers that cause asbestosis and have been implicated as causes of certain cancers and that have been used especially formerly as fireproof insulating materials. The etymology says this is from Middle English elbestone or elbeston, which is a mineral supposed to be inextinguishable when set on fire. And that is probably from the Middle French abeston, which is from the Middle Latin asbeston, which is an alternative of the Latin asbestos, which is from the Greek word which means unslaked lime, which is from asbestos, which means inextinguishable, and that is from A plus sbenninai, which means to quench. And that word is spelled S-B-E-N-N-Y-N-A-I. So yeah, it's all about the word comes from it being able to not be extinguished, not catch on fire. You know, you get it. You paid attention. I don't have to explain it to you. Asbestos is bad stuff. I hope that nobody is still using it, but I'm sure somebody is still using it somewhere. Now we have asbestosis, a word that we learned in the previous definition. This is a noun from 1927, a pneumoconiosis due to asbestos particles that is marked by thickening and scarring of lung tissue. Sounds great. Now we have a prefix, ASC or ASCO. This just means ascus, ASCUS, as in ascocarp. I have no idea what either one of those is. Now we have ASCAP, all caps, ASCAP. This is an abbreviation for the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. Maybe I'll be able to join that someday. Now we have ascariasis. 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 The emphasis is on the re, right in the middle. This is a noun from circa 1888. Infestation with or disease caused by ascarids, which, thank you very much, is our next word, ascarid. This is a noun from the 14th century, any of a family of nematode worms that includes the common roundworm, parasitic in the human intestine. Sounds great. A lot of these things sound great, don't they? The scientific name for the common roundworm is Ascaris lumbricoides. Something like that. The etymology says this is from the Latin prefix ascarid or ascaris, which means intestinal worm, from the Greek ascarid or ascaris, which is probably by back formation from ascarizine, which means to jump or throb. Jump or throb, okay. And that is an alternative of scarizine, which is from scarine, which means to gambol. Gambol. That is not the gamble like you're playing poker or blackjack or something. So yeah, worms, things that are jump, gross stuff. And here we have ascaris, and the plural is ascarides. This is a noun from the 14th century, and we just have the synonym ascarid, which is that wonderful definition we just read. And now we have ascend, A-S-C-E-N-D, and if I remember correctly, we are going to have a bunch of words that start with this prefix. But this is not a prefix, this is an actual word. It's a verb from the 14th century. Let's go start with the intransitive definitions. 1a, to move upward, as in the balloon ascended. 1b, to slope upward. 2a, to rise from a lower level or degree, as in ascend to power. 2b, to go back in time or in order of genealogical succession. Now we have the transitive definitions. They are 1, to go or move up, as in ascend a staircase. 2, to succeed to. Synonym is occupy, as in ascend the throne. And of course, I can't not think of Game of Thrones. A lot of people wanting to ascend the throne. Ascendable is an adjective, and it can be spelled at the end of the word A-B-L-E or I-B-L-E. The etymology says this is from Latin ascendere, which is from ad plus scandere, which means to climb, and there is more at the word scan. Now we have ascendance. Could be spelled D-A-N-C-E or D-E-N-C-E. This is a noun from 1715, and we have the synonym ascendancy, which is our next word. It is a noun from 1677, and it means governing or controlling influence. A synonym is domination. Now we have excuse me. My throat closed up for a brief second there. Next is ascendant. Again, D-A-N-T or D-E-N-T at the end. This is the first form. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1, the point of the ecliptic or degree of the zodiac that rises above the eastern horizon at any moment. Ecliptic, that's like the word eclipse, like when the moon goes in front of the sun. Number 2, a state or position of dominant power or importance. Number 3, a lineal or collateral relative in the ascending line. Let us look at the etymology. We are going to skip it. Now we have the second form of ascendant. This is an adjective from 1591. 1a, moving upward. Synonym is rising. 1b, directed upward, as in an ascendant stem. 2a, we have the synonym superior. 2b, we have the 1a definition for the word dominant. Ascendantly is an adverb. Now we have Ascender. This is a noun from circa 1867. 1. The part of a lowercase letter, as the letter B, that rises above the main body of the letter. Also, a letter that has such a part. Number 2. A device used for climbing rope that slides freely in one direction and grips the rope when pulled in the opposite direction. I've never done any climbing of any kind, but this sounds like a good thing to have when you're doing that. Next, we have ascending. This is an adjective from 1581. 1a, rising or increasing to higher levels, values, or degrees, as in ascending powers of X. 1b, mounting or sloping upward. 2, rising upward, usually from a more or less prostrate base or point of attachment. Next, we have ascension. This is a noun from the 14th century, the act or process of ascending. Next is ascensional. Ascensional. This is an adjective from 1594, of or relating to ascension or ascent. And the last word for this episode is Ascension Day, capital Ascension, capital Day. 2 words. It's a noun from the 14th century. The Thursday, 40 days after Easter, observed in commemoration of Christ's ascension into heaven. If you have any probably basic knowledge level of religion, Judaism, Christianity, you probably already know what this is. I don't even have that level of knowledge, so I didn't really know what it was. But I have read it twice, so maybe the third time I'll remember it. And I actually don't remember what I picked for the word of the episode. Do I? Let's see. It might have just been asbestos. I think that's what we're picking. If you haven't figured out, I've sort of been trying to pick words of the episode that I could also find easy things to post on Instagram. It doesn't always end up being that way, but asbestos, if you are not familiar with it, just know that it's bad, and I'll try and find a picture of it. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you yet again for joining me in this podcast. What? Does that make sense? This is the podcast called The Dictionary, hosted by me, the Spencer. Let's see. Yes, this is the third and final episode on this page 71, by the way, that I have to redo because I screwed up the audio. And I also want to mention, because I actually forgot to mention this the last time I recorded, today, November? Is that where? November 11th. It is Veterans Day here in America. In other countries, well, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. It used to be called, and why am I blanking on it? We've read this before. Armistice Day. Yes, we read it not that long ago, actually. It used to be known as Armistice Day because that is when World War I ended. I recently watched that documentary, They Shall Never Grow Old. I think that's what it's called, which is the documentary that Peter Jackson made about World War I, and he used actual footage and photos and interviews of veterans from World War I, and they colored everything, and it's really way more interesting than you'd think it would be, because it really tells the story of when these young guys, 17, 18, 19 years old, went into the war. They didn't really know what to expect. There had never been a war in the world on this level, obviously, and what their experience was like step by step, what they ate, digging the just all the work that they had to do, the actual battles. It was really phenomenally well done and highly, highly educational. So if you can watch it, I recommend that. But so anyway, Armistice Day was the end of World War I, and then if I remember correctly, it was maybe when World War II ended, or maybe 5 years after World War II ended, they decided to change the name of Armistice Day to Veterans Day. Here in America, at least, I think in the UK they still call it Armistice Day. So I salute all veterans. I have much respect for you. That is something that I could never do. Whatever your views are on war, they're doing something. They are literally risking their life to fight for their country, and you gotta give them a lot of respect for that. So we are going to say some words, happy Veterans Day. First word for this episode is ascensive. ASCENSIVE. This is an adjective from 1602, rising or tending to rise. Now we have ascent. In the last episode, we had ascend, and this one ends in a T. This is a noun from circa 1596. 1A, the act of rising or mounting upward. Synonym is climb. 1B, an upward slope or rising grade. Synonym is acclivity. 1C, the degree of elevation, not elevation. And the synonyms are inclination and gradient. Number 2, an advance in social status or reputation. Synonym is progress. Number 3, a going back in time or upward in order of genealogical succession. And that just means, like your ancestors, my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, those are my ancestors. And I think that is good for that one. Now we are going to move to ascertain. This is a transitive verb from the 15th century. 1 is archaic, to make certain, exact, or precise. Number 2, to find out or learn with certainty. Synonym is the word discover. Ascertainable is an adjective, and ascertainment is a noun. And I still don't have a good joke for this, but it just reminds me of infotainment. Ooh, we're watching some ascertainment. And let's look at the etymology. It says it is from the Middle English accertainen or ascertainen, which means to inform or give assurance to, and that is from Anglo-French ascertainer, I think that's right, which is from a plus certain or certain, and that means certain. And we are going to move on. Did I say ascertainable is an adjective? Yes, I did, because then there's ascertainment. I have said that already. Now we are going to move on to ascesis. ASCESIS. It is also properly pronounced as ascesis because it can be ASKESIS. Wonderful. This is a noun from 1873. We have these synonyms self-discipline and asceticism. Could possibly also be pronounced asceticism. What does the etymology say? It says, it is from Greek askesis, and that literally means exercise. We are going to now move on to ascetic. And I think this is related, if I remember correctly. Could also be ascetical. This is an adjective from 1646. 1, practicing strict self-denial as a measure of personal and especially spiritual discipline. 2, austere in appearance, manner, or attitude. A synonym for all is the word severe. Ascetic is a noun, and ascetically is an adverb, and asceticism is also a noun. And the etymology says this is from the Greek asketikos, which literally means laborious, and that is from asketes, which means one that exercises, or a hermit, and that is from askein, which means to work, or exercise. And so I think with the etymology, boy, I'm stumbling. I think what this is basically meaning is that an ascetic is one who exercises their personal or spiritual discipline. There's a lot of exercise in that, and less about practicing self-denial and more about, I think, just exercising a discipline. All right, we are going to move on to Ascidian, Ascidian. This is a noun from 1835. Any of a class of solitary or colonial sessile tunicates having an incurrent and excurrent siphon, called also sea squirt. Isn't that fun? There's a lot of words in here that I am not familiar with. Sessile or sessile is Sessile. Tunicates is Tunicates. There's incurrent and excurrent siphon, or is it siphon? I've heard of the word siphon, but I don't know if it's spelled the same way, but I think it might be. Siphon. The etymology says this is from New Latin ascidia, which is a group comprising tunicates, and that is from ascidium, which is the genus name, and from the Greek ascidion, which is a diminutive of ascos, which means wineskin. Yeah, wineskin, all one word, or also bladder. Next we have ASCII, ASCII, all caps. This is a noun from 1963, a code for representing alphanumeric information. And it comes from, it's an abbreviation for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Next, we have ascites, Ascites. This is a noun from the 14th century. Abnormal accumulation of serous fluid in the spaces between tissues and organs in the cavity of the abdomen. Sounds fun. Ascitic is an adjective. And we're going to skip the etymology. Next we have Asclepiad. Oh yes, I think I remember saying that. I like saying this word. Asclepiad. Asclepiad. This is a noun from 1859, and it just has the synonym milkweed. The etymology says this is ultimately from the Greek Asclepiad or Asclepius, which means celandine, Celandine. That is from Asclepios, which is the Greek god of medicine. So I'm guessing milkweed is used in various cultures as an ancient form of medicine. How far are we going to go on this one? I think we're going to go to that word. So we've got two more. Ascocarp is next. This is a noun from circa 1887. The mature fruiting body of an Ascomycetes. Oh, see, I had trouble with this before, but now I think I can say it better. Ascomycetes fungus, and broadly, such a body with its enclosed asci, spores, and paraphyses. Wow, that was fun. So it's a mature fruiting body of an Ascomycetes fungus. Ascocarpic or ascocarpic is an adjective. And you know what? I think we are going to go all the way actually to that word so we can keep these all together. Next is ascogonium. This is a noun from 1875. The female sex organ in Ascomycetes fungi. Bet you didn't know that one. And last word for this episode is ascomycete. 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 This is a noun from 1872. Any of a group, much parentheses, any of a group of higher fungi with septate hyphae and spores formed in asci. I don't know what asci is. Oh, but I remembered that where is it? I think it's the plural version of ascus? Whatever. We'll get there, or we won't. Okay, so there were some funky words in here and parentheses that I skipped. So the group is class Ascomycetes or subdivision Ascomycotina, and the higher fungi, an example is yeasts or molds. Hi-fi, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It is spelled Hyphae. It's not like your hi-fi stereo that you had in the 70s. And ascomycetus is an adjective. The etymology says this is from the Greek askos plus myket or mykes, which means fungus, and that is akin to the Greek myxa, M-Y-X-A, which means mucus, and there is more at the word mucus. So that is the end of this episode. I ended with ascomycete. I'm just telling that to my own brain. And the word of the episode, as fun as fungus is, get it? I'm going to pick ASCII because I think I can find a good example of some ASCII art to put on the Instagram page. If you've never seen ASCII art, you are about to if you go to my Instagram page. It's basically just relatively simple art that just uses alphanumeric letters and numbers and symbols and things like that to make something that's surprisingly detailed, I'd say. It's pretty cool, so I'm going to see if I can find a cool example of that. That is the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. I hope you're telling your friends about this podcast. Don't tell your family, but just tell your friends. All right, I don't have anything interesting to say except that this is, I did not get a chance to record this fourth quarter of page 71 yesterday when I previously recorded these, so this is all new. Let's see how badly I can say some of these words. All right, the first word is ascorbate. A-S-C-O-R-B-A-T-E. This is a noun from 1941, a salt of ascorbic acid. Next is ascorbic acid. It is two words. It is a noun from 1933, and we just have the synonym vitamin C. And the etymology says this is from a plus scorbutus, I don't know how to say that word, and that means scurvy. And there's more at the word scorbutic. And I actually did read this one. I think I read it in the previous episode the first time I recorded this. But, pirates, they used to get scurvy, and they figured out that vitamin C, I think, would help either cure it or help with the symptoms. And that's what ascorbic acid is. All right, next we have ascospore. A-S-C-O-S-P-O-R-E. I have a feeling we've got some more fungus talk happening. This is a noun from 1875. Any of the spores contained in an ascus. Oh, here we go. This is the word I was looking for in the previous episode. There is a word called ascus, and the plural form is asci, A-S-C-I, and that is the word that came up a couple of times in those ascomycete fungus words in the previous episode. So, an ascospore is any of the spores contained in an ascus. Ascosporic is an adjective. Next we have ascot, A-S-C-O-T, and I have something in my eye that is really frustrating me. Okay, this is a noun from 1898. A broad neck scarf that is looped under the chin. Should I start wearing ascots? That would be weird. This is from Ascot Heath. That is a racetrack near Ascot, England. So is the ascot scarf named after the racetrack or the town Ascot? It seems like it would make more sense that it would be named after the town and not the racetrack, but it's claiming that it's named after the racetrack. What did all the racetrack drivers wear a broad neck scarf? That's interesting. I think I might need to look into that more. All right, we are going to move on to the word ascribe. This is a transitive verb, and we have some fun synonym information. Let's see. This is a transitive verb from the 15th century. To refer to a supposed cause, source, or author. Ascribable is an adjective, and the etymology says this is from the Latin ascribere, which is from ad plus scribere, which means to write. W-R-I-T-E. Here we go with the synonym information. Ascribe, attribute, assign, impute, and credit mean to lay something to the account of a person or thing. Ascribe suggests an interfering or conjecturing of cause, quality, authorship, as in forged paintings formerly ascribed to masters. Attribute suggests less tentativeness than ascribe, less definiteness than assign, as in attributed to Rembrandt but possibly done by an associate. Assign implies ascribing with certainty or after deliberation, as in assigned the bones to the Cretaceous period. Impute suggests ascribing something that brings discredit by way of accusation or blame, as in tried to impute sinister motives to my actions. Credit implies ascribing a thing or especially an action to a person or other thing as its agent, source, or explanation, as in credited his teammates for his success. And now we have the word ascribed with a D at the end. This is an adjective from 1969, acquired or assigned arbitrarily as at birth, as in ascribed social status. Next we have ascription. It's not a prescription, it's an ascription. This is a noun from 1598. 1. The act of ascribing. Synonym is attribution. Number 2. Arbitrary placement, as at birth, in a particular social status. Next we have ascriptive. This is an adjective from 1650, relating to marked by or involving ascription. And here we have that fun word ascus that I have mentioned before, ascus. This is a noun from 1830. The membranous oval or tubular spore case of an ascomycete. Yeah, I just said that. Membranous? Is it membranous? I think it's membranous. So it's the thing in a fungus that holds spores? Yeah, I think so. Why didn't they just say that? This is from the Greek ascos, which means wineskin or bladder, and we saw that etymology previously. Next we have asdic, A-S-D-I-C. That's how it's pronounced. This is a noun from 1939. It is chiefly British. Yeah, because I think if people said that in English in America, we would know about it. So chiefly British, and it just means the word sonar, S-O-N-A-R, which, let's see, there's a specific name for it. It's an abbreviation, sonar is. I don't remember what exactly it stands for, but it's basically the idea of sending out a sound, hearing it bounce back so you can determine how far away it is or what the shape of it is. Dolphins use this, bats use this. I've even heard of a lot of blind humans use this. Maybe some humans use it who aren't blind, but in general it's used by blind humans. And their hearing is so amazing that they can actually use this this method of sound. Anyway, that's sonar. We're talking about asdic. And the etymology says that it is from asdics, A-S-D-I-C-S, which means underwater echo ranging, probably from... this is also an abbreviation. No, acronym. That's the word I was looking for. Probably from anti-submarine division. Is there more? Plus ICS. Okay, so A from anti, S from submarine, D from division, and plus ICS. And then in parentheses, it says the British Admiralty Department from 1916 to 1918. Next, we have ASE, all caps. This is an abbreviation for American Stock Exchange. Next, we have a suffix. It is ASE. It just says enzyme, as in protease. That is spelled Protease. Next, we have another abbreviation. It is I don't know how to say it. ASEAN? It is spelled ASEAN, all caps. It is an abbreviation for Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Next, we have asepsis. I know this is a bad medical term. This is a noun from 1892. 1. The condition of being aseptic. Don't worry, we'll get to aseptic next. And number 2, the methods of making or keeping aseptic. And here we go with aseptic. It is an adjective from circa 1859. 1a, preventing infection, as in aseptic techniques. And I have to apologize because I said this is a bad medical term, but it is not. It is actually the opposite. What I was thinking of was sepsis, not asepsis. And of course, adding the A to the beginning, we learned a long time ago, basically makes something the opposite. So, with that knowledge, let's reread 1A. It says, preventing infection, aseptic techniques is an example. 1B, free or freed from pathogenic microorganisms, as in an aseptic operating room. Basically just means it is clean and no bad things are around. Number 2, lacking vitality, emotion, or warmth, as in aseptic essays. And that is an interesting use of the word in a non-medical situation, that it's sterile. Sterile is another word for aseptic. Obviously, they don't even mention that here, so it's clearly a little bit different enough where they can't mention it. But that's basically what it means. So when you're talking about an essay, say, that is aseptic or sterile, it means it's just bland and there's nothing going on. You want some interesting stuff happening. Next, we have aseptically is an adverb. I had to throw that in there. And now we are on the last word of the episode. It is the word asexual. A-S-E-X-U-A-L. This is an adjective from 1830. 1. Lacking sex or functional sex organs, as in asexual plants. There's a lot of plants and animals that are able to reproduce asexually, which is crazy. Number 2A, involving or reproducing by reproductive processes as cell division, spore formation, fission, or budding that do not involve the union of individuals or gametes, as in asexual reproduction, also as in an asexual generation. 2B, produced by asexual reproduction, as in asexual spores. 3. Devoid of sexuality, as in an asexual relationship. Asexuality is a noun, and asexually is an adverb. And I'm going to flip the page and make sure that there is nothing else, and there is nothing else for this one. And I actually, how do I describe this? I have a website where I made some little rotoscope animations. It's I'veBeenThinkin.com. There's no G. I can put a link in the description, the episode description. But I had an idea where I had a character who would just say short, funny lines, and then I would animate them and put them up. And there was one that I wrote that had to do with asexuality, opposed to homosexuality or bisexuality. Basically, the idea that someone is not interested in sex of any kind. And the line was something like, asexuality, that's gotta suck. And I got a little flack for that. And, I don't know people. I'm not in that world. I think that it's what am I trying to say? I didn't realize. I had a little education when I got some flack for that, which was totally warranted. And, to somebody who identifies as asexual, it doesn't suck to them to be asexual. That's just them. That's just who they are. And so I think I do still have the video up, but it's not like I've shared it or anything like that. And, I just want to recognize that, I came from a closed-minded, or not closed-minded, but an uneducated and ignorant point of view. And so it was not a judgment. It was meant to just be a joke from a standpoint of someone who is not asexual, which of course most people are. Most people are not asexual, but somebody was offended by that, and so I just wanted to say I'm sorry, and we are going to move on. So let's see. I think we'll make asexual the word of the episode because, from that context, it has some big meaning to me and to obviously other people. I think it's fascinating that there are a lot of creatures, both animals and plants, and funguses probably as well, that reproduce asexually, and they still are able to find a way to live in this world and not necessarily, sometimes, but not always, overtake their environment. Nature tends to find a way to balance itself out, and most plants and animals can live in peace and harmony in their circle of life. And when something can reproduce asexually, they can just keep on going as much as they want, but they don't always do that. Unlike humans, who don't reproduce asexually and who are also taking over this planet like a virus. And with that, we are going to end this episode, this long episode. Thank you very much for listening. Apologies for that diatribe or whatever I went off on at the end. And I hope you join me for the next episode, which will be at the top of page 72. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. No, it's called The Dictionary. I've changed my audio settings a little bit on this audio recorder. You are probably not going to hear anything different. I am probably not going to hear anything different, but it's an experiment. All right, let's get to the words. We are at the top of page 72, and the first word, I put word in quotes, is the phrase as far as, and this is the first form. It is a conjunction from the 14th century, to the extent or degree that, and it just ends there. As in, we have an example, is safe as far as we know. What is it? Is it safe? Is it not safe? They shall find out. It is often used in expressions like, as far as something goes, and something is in parentheses. Also, it is used in expressions like, as far as something is concerned, to mean with regard to something. As in, we felt pretty safe as far as the fire was concerned. And that is a quote from Mark Twain. Could also be used in expressions like, as far as something is concerned, to mean in someone's opinion. Oh, I said that wrong. As far as someone is concerned, to mean in someone's opinion. As in, as far as I'm concerned, it's a mistake. And doing this podcast was probably a mistake. And now we have the second form of as far as. It is a preposition from 1523. And apologies if that last one was off the rails, because that was a very, very weird definition. I've never seen anything quite like that. All right, this one says with regard to, and we have the synonym concerning, as in neatly groomed and, as far as clothes, casual looking. And that is from the New York Times. Also as in, as far as being mentioned in the Ten Commandments, I think it is. And that is from the wonderful, wonderful Billy Graham. I hope you heard that was sarcastic. And it says it is chiefly in oral use. Now we have the phrase as for. This is a preposition from the 15th century. With regard to, same as the last one. Synonym is concerning, same as the last one. As in, as for the others, they'll arrive later. Why are they late? Now we have Asgard, A-S-G-A-R-D with a capital A. You Marvel movie watchers and comic book readers will be familiar with this, and I have a feeling many of you other people will be familiar with this as well. This is a noun from 1806, the home of the Norse gods. So obviously you don't have to watch movies or read comics to know what Asgard is, but if you are familiar at all with Norse gods, that's Asgard. Next, we have ASGD. This is an abbreviation for the word assigned. Next, we have ash, A-S-H, first form of 3. This is a noun from before the 12th century. 1. Any of a genus of trees of the olive family with pinnate leaves, or pinnate, thin furrowed bark, and gray branchlets. Number 2. The tough elastic wood of an ash. Number 3. Let's see. It gives me a little extra etymology, which I will come back to. So number 3, the name of the ligature AE used in Old English and some phonetic alphabets to represent a low front vowel. All right, so we'll come back to that. Let's see. The etymology is from Middle English, ash, A-S-S-H-E, which is from the Old English. I'm assuming it's pronounced ash, but I'm not sure. It is spelled A-E-S-E. I think that's an E or a C. It's actually kind of hard to tell, but I think it's a C. And the A-E is combined. More on that later. You've probably seen that before. And it is akin to the Old High German ask, A-S-K, which means ash, from the Latin ornus, which means mountain ash. And there is a picture of the first definition of the first form of ash. That is the olive thing from the olive family with pinnate leaves, thin furrowed bark, and gray branchlets. So it just looks like some leaves and unbudded flowers. Oh, and the genus for that one is Fraxinus, F-R-A-X-I-N-U-S. So now back to the third definition. The etymology, the extra etymology information, it says it's from Old English AESC, that's the one that I read before, which is the name of the corresponding runic letter. There are old characters called runes, and this one it doesn't look like a rune that I've seen, but yes, I guess it's related somehow. So yeah, this is the letter AE combined into one letter. And I don't know if I ever knew what that was called, but I guess it's called an ash. So yeah, learn something new. Next, we have the second form of ash. This is a noun from before the 12th century. 1. Something that symbolizes grief, repentance, or humiliation. 2a. The solid residue left when combustible material is thoroughly burned or is oxidized by chemical means. 2b. Fine particles of mineral matter from a volcanic vent. 3 is plural, so ashes. The remains of the dead human body after cremation or disintegration. 4 is also plural. Deathly pallor, P-A-L-L-O-R, as in the lip of ashes and the cheek of flame. And that is a quote from Lord Byron. I've heard his name. I don't know what he does. Is he a writer, a poet? But that sounds very poetic. I should know what he does, but I don't. Number 5 is also plural, and we just have the synonym ruins. Ashless is an adjective. And let's see, similar etymology for the last one, but it says there's more at the word arid, A-R-I-D. Now we have the third and final form of ash. This is a transitive verb from circa 1894, and it just means to convert into ash. Next we have ashamed. This is an adjective from before the 12th century. 1a, feeling shame, guilt, or disgrace. 1b, feeling inferior or unworthy. 2, restrained by anticipation of shame, as in was ashamed to beg. Yep, I lost my place for a second. Ashamedly is an adverb. Let's see. This is from the Old English askamad, which is from askamian. I don't know how to pronounce these words, but I think that's a verb. That means to shame. And let's see, from skamian, which means to shame, and there's more at the word abide and shame. And next is Ashanti. Ashanti has come back. I mentioned Ashanti a couple episodes ago. This is a noun from 1721. 1. A member of a people of southern Ghana. Number 2. The dialect of Akan spoke by the Ashanti people. Akan is A-K-A-N, and that very well may have been the word that I read a long time ago where Ashanti came up. That would make sense. Let's see, this is ultimately from the Twi word, T-W-I, Asante, A-S-A-N-T-E, and there are a couple accents over some vowels. I don't know what Twi is. It's some language that I'll have to look up and see what that is. All right, how many more do we want to do? We'll do a few more. Next, we have ash blonde, A-S-H-B-L-O-N-D, or you could throw an E at the end of blonde if you so wish. This is an adjective from 1865, pale or grayish blonde, as in ash blonde hair. My hair, what would I call my hair? I've always called it dirty blonde. It was blonde, very blonde when I was little, and then it got darker and darker, and now it's just sort of like a medium brown, I guess. Or a light brown, I don't know. Next, we have the word ashcan. Let's see. This is, well, it's a capital A. It's all one word. I'm, of course, automatically think of trash can or a place to put cigarette ashes, but I don't think that's what it is. This is an adjective from 1939 of or relating to a group of 20th century American painters who depicted city life realistically, as in Ashcan School. I don't think I've ever heard of this before. I should ask my dad, who knows a lot about art and painters and painting styles and such. See if he's ever heard of this. Let's see, 20th century. It doesn't say, 1939. So yeah, it's a relatively early 20th century. You know what's weird? We are only 20 years away from the year 2039, which is 100 years after that word. I don't know. I think about things like that sometimes. Like I hear the word, or I hear something happened in the year 1880, and I think, well, I was born in 1980, a whole 100 years later, and so they sort of looked at the world in relation to the years and time and the centuries the same way that I do, but of a completely different time that I cannot comprehend, and they obviously could not comprehend what I am living through now. Anyway, we're closer to 2039 than 1939, which was 80 years ago. Yeah. Okay, one more. Ash can. Two separate words. This is a noun from 1894. 1. A metal receptacle for refuse. See, that's what I was thinking of before. Number 2 is slang, and it has the synonym depth charge. All right, what is going to be the word of the episode? Might need to go with Asgard, because if you've seen the movies, it's pretty beautiful up there. Well, at least it was. I don't know if it still is. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just go with Asgard, and I'll see if I can find a good picture. Also, I'll see if I can find a good picture of the ash plant. All right, that is the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening and hearing me talk weird things about years and such. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this podcast called The Dictionary, and we are going to get right into the words. First is ashen, A-S-H-E-N. It is the first form. This is an adjective from before the 12th century of, relating to, or made from ash wood. Now we have the second form of ashen. It is an adjective from the 14th century, resembling ashes as in color, especially deathly pale, as in a face ashen and haggard. You don't want that. Now we have Asher with a capital A. This is a noun from the 14th century, a son of Jacob and the traditional eponymous ancestor of one of the tribes of Israel. And it does say this is Hebrew, Asher, spelled the same way, but it has horizontal lines over the A and the E. Have you ever seen the musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat? I wonder if they mention Asher, because I think he might have been in that. I don't know. It's been a long time since I saw it. All right, next we have ashfall. It's spelled the way it sounds, but it's one word. This is a noun from 1923, a deposit of volcanic ash. Next we have Ashkenazi, capital Ashkenazi. And interesting how, and I never noticed this, the word Nazi is in Ashkenazi, although it's obviously not pronounced the same way. I am really curious now to learn more about the word Nazi and see where that came from. I cannot imagine that it would be related. It must be a coincidence, but that is weird. All right, this is a noun from 1839, a member of one of the two great divisions of Jews comprising the Eastern European Yiddish-speaking Jews, compared to the word Sephardi, Sephardi. And I've usually heard the word Sephardic as like an adjective form or adjectival form. So I'm guessing, I am part Jewish, I should know more about this, but I'm guessing that Sephardi and Ashkenazi are the two great divisions. Ashkenazic is an adjective, and let's look at some etymology. This is from, it says El Heb. Is that Latin Hebrew or something Hebrew? The word Ashkenazi with some extra accents and things, which is from Ashkenaz, which is medieval rabbinical name for Germany. Oh, interesting. Medieval rabbinical name for Germany. So I wonder how far back that goes. Like, when did that happen? So maybe Ashkenazi and the word Nazi are actually related etymologically. Interesting. Next we have ashlar, Ashlar. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. Hewn or squared stone. Also, masonry of such stone. Number 2. A thin, squared, and dressed stone for facing a wall of rubble or brick. The etymology says this is from Middle English achaler, somehow pronounced from Anglo-French aiseler, from Old French, which means traverse beam or traverse beam. And that is from aisel, which is a diminutive of ais, A-I-S, which is not pronounced that way, which means plank, from the Latin axis, which is an alternative of assis, A-S-S-I-S. How fascinating was that? Next, we have ashore. Am I going through this too quickly or too slowly? Let me know. I feel like I'm talking fast, but there's a lot to get through. This is an adverb from circa 1536, on or to the shore. Ashore. Next, we have the conjunction as how. That is two separate words. This is from 1741, and we just have the synonym that, T-H-A-T, as in, allowed as how she was glad to be here. I don't even know what that means. Next we have ashram. I think there's a few different ways to pronounce it. A-S-H-R-A-M. This is a noun from 1917. 1. A secluded dwelling of a Hindu sage. Also, the group of disciples instructed there. Number 2. A religious retreat. Yeah, I have heard ashram used a lot before. I don't know if I've ever heard it used in its original meaning, but yes, I have heard of it. This is from Sanskrit, asrama, which is from srama, which means religious exercise. And now we have Ashtoreth, capital A-S-H-T-O-R-E-T-H. This is a noun from 1855, and we have the synonym, I don't know how to pronounce this exactly, Astarte, A-S-T-A-R-T-E. It's like the word start with an A at the beginning and an E at the end. I guess it could also be pronounced Astarte, but that seems weird. This is Hebrew from the word ashtoreth. Next we have ashtray. In the last episode, we had ash can, but this is ashtray, all one word. This is a noun from 1876, a receptacle for tobacco ashes and for cigar and cigarette butts. Next, we have Ashur, capital A, S-H-U-R. This is a noun from 1589, the chief deity of the Assyrians. This is from the Akkadian word, and Akkadian is A-K-K-A-D-I-A-N. Ashur, A-S-H-U-R. Next we have Ash Wednesday. The first letter of each word is capitalized. This is a noun from the 14th century, the first day of Lent. And then it says, see the Easter table. I have never participated in Lent. I know a lot of people who do. They give up something for a while. I think it's 40 days. And I don't do that. Next we have ashy, A-S-H-Y. This is an adjective from the 14th century. 1. Of or relating to ashes. Number 2, we have the synonym ashen, which we read in... Oh, I think that was the beginning of this episode. Yep, that was the very start of this episode. Next, we have ASI, all caps. This is an abbreviation for airspeed indicator. Next, we have Asiago with a capital A. This is a noun from 1938, a pungent, hard, yellow cheese of Italian origin suitable for grating. I didn't realize it had to have a capital A, but I guess it is the name of a thing, and this is from the town in Italy called Asiago. That would be fun to visit. Next, we have Asian, capital A-S-I-A-N. This is the first form of two. It's an adjective from 1550 of relating to or characteristic of the continent of Asia or its people. And now we have the second form of Asian. It is a noun from 1555. 1. A native or inhabitant of Asia. 2. A person of Asian descent. This just sort of reminds me that I'm not saying that these words are good or bad. I mean, I know, the term Oriental is definitely something that we should not be using anymore. But it reminds me that this book is a little on the old side, if I remember correctly. And so updating it might be a good idea at some point. But I just really wanted to say that apologies if I read anything that you are offended by. That is obviously not my intention. I'm just reading the book. Books like this do get updated and should get updated as the meaning around words change. And so I just want you to know that, and I might be updating this at some point. Okay, now we have Asian American. There is a hyphen. The A's at the front are capitalized. This is a noun from 1973, an American of Asian descent. Asian American is also an adjective. Now we have Asian elephant. This is a noun from 1818. We have the 1B definition for the word elephant. Next, we have Asian flu. This is a noun from 1957, influenza that is caused by a subtype of the orthomyxovirus causing influenza A, and that was responsible for about 70,000 deaths in the U.S. in the influenza pandemic of 1957 to 1958, called also Asian influenza. And the subtype mentioned at the beginning was H2N2. Next, we have Asian pear. This is a noun from 1983. Any of various pears chiefly of Japanese and Chinese origin that have crisp, juicy flesh, usually resemble an apple in shape, and typically have yellow, brown, or green skin. I just thought it was funny that it says crisp, juicy flesh, because it sounds like you're eating a human or something, but it's not. It's a pear. Next, we have Asian tiger mosquito. This is a noun from 1986, a black and white striped Asian mosquito that is a vector of several diseases, as dengue, and has been introduced in the U.S. into the U.S. Thanks for introducing it to the U.S. The scientific name for the Asian mosquito is Aedes albopictus. Aedes, and then albopictus literally is spelled how you think it might be. Next, we have Asiatic. This is an adjective from 1602, and this is interesting. It actually says in italics, sometimes offensive. So I appreciate you saying that. And what else? So the actual definition just has the synonym Asian. And so if you're using it, instead of saying Asian, if you say Asiatic, then that could possibly be offensive. And then it says Asiatic. Oh, the original one is an adjective. It could also be a noun, which is also sometimes offensive. So don't use that. Next, we have Asiatic cholera. Cholera is Cholera. This is a noun from 1831. Cholera of Asian origin that is caused by virulent strains of the cholera vibrio. And the scientific name for that is Vibrio cholerae. Next and last word for this episode is basically a repeat of something earlier. It's Asiatic elephant. Earlier we had Asian elephant. I'm pretty sure those elephants do get offended by that word Asiatic, so really don't say that in front of them. This is a noun from 1803, and again, we have the 1B definition for the word elephant. So that is all the words. I think I may have to pick... Oh, what do I want to pick? Oh, there's a lot of good ones in here. There's words and things. I'm just going to pick Ashkenazi as the word of the episode partly because, I mean, for all I know, I'm probably part Ashkenazi or Sephardic. I don't really know. I haven't done my DNA testing, but the guy that I mention a lot on this podcast sometimes, Mark Marin, he did his DNA testing thing, and it came up high percentage of Ashkenazi Jew. But also, I'm just super interested in the fact that the word Nazi is in there, so I really want to dig more into the etymology of Ashkenazi and Nazi and see if they branch off at some point or something like that. And there are lots of options for Instagram posts, so maybe I'll do a whole bunch of them. Go check out my Instagram and see what you find. All right, that's the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, you word nerds. Thank you for listening to me yammer on about all this stuff in this big-ass book. Ooh, sorry, big book. First word for this episode is aside, A-S-I-D-E. This is the first form of 3. It is an adverb from the 14th century. 1. To or toward the side, as in stepped aside. Because otherwise he was going to get hit by a bus, or she, or it. Number 2, away from others or into privacy, as in pulled him aside. 3, out of the way, especially for future use. Synonym is away, as in putting aside savings. Number 4, away from one's thought or consideration, as in jesting aside. Now we have the second form of aside. It is a preposition from 1592, and it is obsolete. And it means, or the synonyms are beyond and past. Now we have the third form of aside. It is a noun from circa 1751. 1. An utterance meant to be inaudible to someone, especially an actor's speech heard by the audience, but supposedly not by other characters. You could also say that would be something kind of in parentheses, although for stage acting, it's not quite the same. But that reminds me of a very funny joke from Stephen Wright, or it was funny to me. He said, well, he had a very low monotone voice, so I'll see if I can repeat it. Sometimes you can't hear me. That's because sometimes I'm in parentheses. All right, now we are going to do the number 2 definition for aside, the third form, a strain from the theme. Synonym is digression. Next, we have a phrase. It is aside from. It is a preposition from 1818. 1. in addition to. Synonym is besides. Number 2, we have the synonym except for. And now we have as if. That is our next phrase. It is a conjunction from the 13th century. I feel like I should say it like, as if. I don't know, that probably came out really bad and maybe even derogatory in some way, but I did not mean it that way. Apologies. I was honestly trying to do more of like a Valley Girl kind of thing, and it just didn't come out that way. I'm so sorry. Okay, 1. As it would be if. As it would be if. As in, it was as if he had lost his last friend. Obviously, the way I said it does not fit with this definition. Number 2, as one would do if. As in, he ran as if ghosts were chasing him. And number 3, the synonym is that. As in, it seemed as if the day would never end. And now I'm feeling incredibly self-conscious about the way that I said that before. But I'm not doing any editing, remember? So that's just all staying in. And if things get really bad, I may have to start doing editing. All right, next we have the word asinine, A-S-I-N-I-N-E. This podcast is asinine. This is an adjective from the 15th century. 1, extremely or utterly foolish, as in an asinine excuse. Number 2, of, relating to, or resembling an ass. Synonym is the word simple. Asininely is an adverb, and asininity is a word that I never heard of, and it is a noun. Maybe I can start using that somehow. Let's see, this is from Latin asininus, which is from asinus, which means ass. Next we have ask, A-S-K. Ooh, this is going to be the last word for the episode because we have a lot of definitions and a lot of synonym information. This is a verb from before the... Oh boy, I got a little tickle in my throat and it just sort of took over. All right, this is a verb from before the 12th century. Maybe I should keep some water close at hand. We're going to start with the transitive definitions. 1a, to call on for an answer, as in she asked him about his trip. 1b, to put a question about, as in asking her whereabouts. 1c, we have these synonyms speak and utter, U-T-T-E-R, as in ask a question. 2a, to make a request of, as in she asked her teacher for help. 2b, to make a request for. No, it's similar to the last one but different. As in she asked help from her teacher. Very similar. Number 3, to call for. Synonym is require, as in a challenge that will ask much of us. Number 4, to set as a price, as in asked $3,000 for the car. Well, unless it's used, that's pretty cheap. And number 5, the synonym is invite. Now we have a few intransitive definitions. Number 1, to seek information. 2, to make a request, as in asked for food. Number 3, we have the synonym look, and that is often used in the phrase ask for trouble. Asker is a noun. So here we have more synonym stuff to say, and I'm going to say it to you right now. Ask, question, interrogate, query, inquire mean to address a person in order to gain information. Ask implies no more than the putting of a question, as in ask for directions. Question usually suggests the asking of a series of questions, as in question them about every detail of the trip. Interrogate suggests formal or official systematic questioning, as in the prosecutor interrogated the witness all day. Query implies a desire for authoritative information or confirmation, as in queried a librarian about the book. Inquire implies a searching for facts or for truth, often specifically by asking questions, as in began to inquire of friends and teachers what career she should pursue. And we actually have a second set of synonym information, which I don't think I have seen before. But again, we are only on page 72 of something many high thousands. Okay, synonym section number 2 for the word ask. Ask, request, solicit mean to seek to obtain by making one's wants known. Ask implies no more than the statement of the desire, as in ask a favor of a friend. Request implies greater formality and courtesy, as in requests the pleasure of your company. Solicit suggests a calling attention to one's wants or desires by public announcement or advertisement, as in a letter soliciting information. So, we didn't have a lot of words in this one. I kind of want to pick asinine as the word of the episode because I am in complete control of this podcast, so I can do whatever I want. That is it. Oh, and also, none of these I don't think are really great for Instagram, so I might steal one or two from the previous episode or the next episode. No, that would be weird. Okay, thank you for listening. That is all I got to say. Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye.